A low, throbbing hum resonated through the quiet fields of Cedar Grove, a sound so foreign that it sent shivers down the farmer's spine. He stepped out into the cool night air, the moon casting an eerie glow over the land. But as he ventured closer, the unsettling melody faded, leaving behind an oppressive silence that seemed to swallow him whole. Yet, as he squatted to inspect the earth beneath his feet, a chilling realization struck him. The soil was altered, pulsating with an energy he could neither see nor comprehend. It felt as if something unseen, something ancient had passed through, leaving a mark that defied explanation. What had happened in those moments of stillness? The ground hummed with secrets, and the night air thickened with the weight of the unknown. As he stood there, an unsettling question loomed. Was he alone, or was something watching from the shadows? The fields of Cedar Grove stretched endlessly under the vast expanse of the night sky, a tapestry of dark greens and browns woven together by the moon's silvery threads. The farmer, Harold, had always cherished this solitude, the peace that came with the land he had toiled over for decades. But tonight, as he stood at the threshold of his modest farmhouse, a peculiar vibration danced along the edges of his consciousness. It was a low, throbbing hum that resonated through the quiet fields, a sound so foreign that it sent shivers down his spine and wrapped around his heart like a vice. The chill of the evening air swept through him, carrying with it a hint of damp earth and the distant scent of clover, but it was the hum that pulled him into the night. With the moon casting an eerie glow over the land, he felt compelled to step outside, to investigate the source of the disturbance that whispered of something otherworldly. The gravel crunched underfoot as he made his way toward the fields, each step heavy with a mixture of curiosity and trepidation. The sound seemed to ebb and flow, teasing him with its presence, yet as he ventured closer, it faded into an unsettling silence that seemed to swallow him whole. The world around him was awash in shadows, the outlines of barn and fence stark against the silvery light. It felt as if the very fabric of reality had shifted, leaving him in a void where time itself was suspended. He paused, straining to hear anything beyond the rapid thrum of his own heartbeat. But the silence was absolute, an oppressive weight that pressed down on him, making him acutely aware of the isolation that enveloped Cedar Grove. The wind had stilled, and even the crickets had retreated into the depths of the night, leaving only the sound of his own breathing echoing in the stillness. As he squatted to inspect the earth beneath his feet, a chilling realization struck him. The soil was different. It was as if the ground itself was alive, pulsating with an energy he could neither see nor comprehend. His fingers brushed against the surface, feeling the warmth radiating from within, as though something unseen had left a mark that defied explanation. It was a peculiar sensation, not unlike the vibrations one felt after a storm when the air crackled with electricity. Yet this was different. This was raw, primal, a connection to something ancient that stirred beneath the surface. The rhythmic hum had transformed into a haunting echo within him, each pulse stirring memories of folklore and whispered tales shared by fireside. Stories of the earth's secrets, of energies that lay dormant, waiting for the right moment to awaken. Harold had always dismissed them as mere fables, the remnants of a superstitious past. But tonight, as he knelt in the dark, he felt the weight of those tales pressing down on him, intertwining with the very soil he had nurtured for years. The air thickened, heavy with a foreboding sense of the unknown. It felt as though he was not alone, that something lingered just beyond the periphery of his vision, something that watched, waiting for him to acknowledge its presence. He glanced around, half expecting to see a figure emerge from the shadows, but the landscape remained unchanged, a silent witness to his unease. The distant glow of a lone farmhouse flickered in the background, a beacon of normalcy in an increasingly surreal reality. Questions swirled in his mind like autumn leaves caught in a whirlwind. What had happened in those moments of stillness? What force had driven that hum, that energy through his fields? And most unsettling of all, Was he truly alone? Or was something observing him from the darkness? Hidden yet ever present, the familiar comfort of his surroundings twisted into something sinister, and dread coiled around him, tightening with each passing second. As he stood up, brushing the dirt from his knees, Harold felt an inexplicable pull toward the heart of the field, where the hum seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. He took a cautious step forward, the grass swaying gently underfoot, as if beckoning him deeper into the unknown. The night air crackled with anticipation, a charged silence that vibrated through him, urging him to uncover the truth behind the mystery that now enveloped Cedar Grove. Each sound, rustling leaves, the distant hoot of an owl, seemed amplified, sharp against the quietude that lingered. The shadows danced menacingly, and he could almost feel the weight of unseen eyes boring into him. The sensation was primal, instinctual, a reminder that in the depths of nature, not all was as it seemed. As he ventured further into the field, the air thickened, the pulse of the earth resonating around him, a rhythm that synchronized with his own heartbeat. It felt as if the very ground was alive, a vessel of secrets waiting to be unearthed. And as the moon began to wane, casting elongated shadows across the landscape, Harold realized he had crossed a threshold. He was no longer just a farmer. He had become a witness to something far greater, an enigma that promised revelation yet threatened to expose him to the chilling reality of the unknown. The fields hummed with secrets, and with each step he took, the sense of unease deepened, entwining him in a web of cosmic tension that would forever alter his understanding of the world he thought he knew. The night enveloped Cedar Grove like a thick fog, each breath of air tasting metallic and charged with unspoken fears. Harold's heart raced as he moved deeper into the field, the familiar contours of his land morphing into something unrecognizable, shadows stretching and twisting in the half-light. The moon, now a thin crescent, hung low in the sky, casting a pale glow that barely penetrated the dense darkness around him. He could feel the weight of the silence, an oppressive blanket that muffled even the slightest rustle of grass, suffocating the sounds of the night. The dirt beneath his feet felt warmer, pulsating gently, as if the earth itself was alive, breathing in tandem with his own quickening pulse. Harold could sense the change in the atmosphere, a thickening that seemed to wrap around him like a shroud. He paused, listening intently, trying to discern the source of the hum that had drawn him here. It was a low, resonant vibration that thrummed through the ground and into his bones, awakening a primal instinct within him. With each heartbeat, it seemed to intensify, as if calling him closer, demanding his attention. The air crackled with energy, and a shiver ran down his spine. He remembered the stories his grandfather used to tell, the old legends of strange occurrences in the fields, of lights that danced in the night, and whispers carried by the wind. He had always dismissed them as the fanciful tales of a bygone era. But now, standing alone in the vastness of his land, he felt the echoes of those tales reverberate in his mind. What if there was truth buried beneath the myths? What if tonight was the night those stories would come to life? As he ventured further, the grass brushed against his legs like fingers, urging him onward. The darkness seemed to coalesce into shapes, shadows that flickered at the edge of his vision, darting away whenever he turned to look. The distant hoot of an owl sounded more like a warning now, each call resonating with an urgency that sent a chill racing through his veins. He felt exposed, vulnerable, as if the very night conspired to isolate him from the safety of his home. Suddenly, a faint glow appeared in the distance, flickering like a candle caught in a draught. Harold squinted, straining to see through the murkiness. The light pulsed rhythmically, casting an eerie illumination over the crops, revealing the curvature of the land in sharp contrast against the surrounding darkness. As he approached, the hum grew louder, harmonizing with the glow in a way that was both beautiful and terrifying, as if nature itself was singing a song of warning. He stepped closer, the tendrils of light weaving through the rows of corn, illuminating the intricate patterns woven into the earth. Each stalk stood at attention, perfectly aligned yet curiously bent at odd angles, creating a geometric design that seemed to pulse with life. The formations were impossibly precise, their symmetry both mesmerizing and unsettling. Harold knelt down, feeling the cool earth beneath his fingers, tracing the lines of the pattern that spiraled out like a cosmic fingerprint, a message etched in the very soil of Cedar Grove. A sudden gust of wind swept through the field, stirring the leaves into a frenzied dance. The hum transformed into a crescendo of sound, a symphony of vibrations that resonated deep within him. Panic surged through Harold as he realized the inexplicable connection between the light, the hum, and the patterns. Was this a message? A sign? Or was it merely a trick of the mind, a response to his growing unease? As he stood up, breathless and trembling, he felt the ground beneath him shift ever so slightly, a subtle vibration that seemed to echo the rhythm of his own heartbeat. It was as if the earth was responding to his presence, aware of his fear and curiosity, challenging him to confront what lay hidden in the depths of the night. He glanced around, half expecting to see eyes watching from the shadows, a presence lurking just beyond the edge of perception. The thought sent a jolt of adrenaline coursing through him, and he fought against the instinct to flee. In that moment of stillness, Harold understood he had crossed into a realm where the ordinary blurred into the extraordinary, where the fabric of reality twisted and turned in ways he could hardly comprehend. The sensation was intoxicating, yet terrifying, and he felt a magnetic pull toward the light, as if it held the answers to questions he hadn't yet dared to voice. But was he prepared to face what lay ahead? The hum intensified, vibrating through him, a call to action that resonated with the very essence of his being. And as he took another step forward, he felt an undeniable shift in the air, a tension that crackled like static electricity, promising revelations that could either illuminate his path or plunge him deeper into darkness. Each heartbeat echoed in his ears, a reminder that he was on the precipice of something monumental, teetering between the known and the unknown, with the weight of the cosmos pressing down upon him. And then, just as abruptly as it had begun, the light flickered and dimmed, plunging the field into an impenetrable darkness. The hum faded to a whisper, leaving behind an unsettling silence that enveloped him like a thick fog. Harold froze, his breath caught in his throat, his heart pounding wildly as he turned slowly, scanning the expanse around him. The shadows lengthened, and the oppressive quiet felt like a living entity, watching, waiting. The air grew heavy with anticipation, and in that moment, Harold realized he was not merely a witness to the inexplicable. He was part of something much larger, a cosmic dance unfolding beneath the star-studded sky. The fear that had gripped him began to transform into something else. Curiosity, a spark igniting within him. He was drawn to the very heart of the mystery, the promise of revelation lingering just out of reach. But even as he stood there, on the cusp of discovery, the question loomed larger than ever. What lay beyond the veil of darkness, and would he be prepared to face it when the time came? As the darkness enveloped him, Harold felt an unsettling shift in the air, a weight pressing down upon him, as if the very night had conspired to erase his existence. The familiar sounds of the rural landscape, the rustling leaves, the distant croak of frogs, the whisper of the wind, had faded into an eerie silence that seemed to swallow him whole. Every fiber of his being tingled with a strange energy, a stark contrast to the stillness surrounding him. It was a silence that was not merely the absence of sound, but a profound, throbbing presence that resonated deep within his chest, making him acutely aware of his own heartbeat. He strained to listen, to hear something, anything, that would pierce through the oppressive quiet. But all he could hear was the whisper of his own breath, shallow and quick, as if his body was trying to convince him that it was still alive, still apart from the looming void. The darkness felt alive, swirling like smoke around him, and he could not shake the feeling that unseen eyes were upon him, analyzing him in ways he could not begin to understand. Each breath he took was heavy with anticipation, a prelude to the unknown. Harold took a tentative step forward, the soft earth yielding beneath his feet, but the ground felt different, almost pulsating, as if the very soil was alive and thrumming with an energy that was foreign, yet enticing. He paused, his instincts screaming at him to turn back, to flee the alien sensation that was wrapping around him like tendrils of fog. Yet something deeper pulled him in, urging him to explore the depths of the night. Suddenly he was jolted by a sound, a low, vibrating hum that emerged from the depths of the darkness, creeping into his consciousness like a secret whispered in the dead of night. It was not the mundane sounds of the countryside. It was something profound, reverberating through the very fabric of reality. The sound seemed to shift around him, bending the air into shapes he couldn't fathom, creating a resonant frequency that sent shivers down his spine. He felt the vibrations in his bones, in the marrow of his soul, as if the very essence of the universe was calling out to him. He closed his eyes for a brief moment, surrendering to the sensation. It was in that darkness, with his heart racing and the hum weaving a tapestry of unease around him, that he felt a subtle change in the atmosphere. The air grew thick, tangy, with an electric charge that danced along his skin, electrifying him with an urgency that he could not ignore. It was both frightening and exhilarating, a strange dichotomy that twisted his gut in knots. He opened his eyes to see shadows flitting at the periphery of his vision, darting in and out of the corners, teasing him with glimpses of movement that vanished as quickly as they appeared. And then, like a candle flickering in the wind, the darkness shifted. A faint glow emerged in the distance, a distant beacon of luminous energy that pulsated in rhythm with the hum. It was a mere whisper of light, but it drew him in with an irresistible force. Harold felt his heart race with trepidation and wonder as he took another step forward, his mind a chaotic whirl of fear and curiosity. What was this light? What secrets lay hidden in its glow? The ground beneath him trembled slightly, a gentle vibration that echoed through his body as if the earth itself was responding to the call of the light. He could almost hear the whispers of the night wind, urging him to go closer, to embrace the enigma that lay ahead. But as he moved, he became acutely aware of the shadows blending together, forming shapes that danced just beyond his comprehension. Were they merely tricks of the mind, or was there something more lurking in the gloom? His senses heightened. Harold felt the weight of the cosmos bearing down upon him, a reminder of the vastness of existence and the fragility of his own being. The hum crescendoed, wrapping around him like a shroud, filling the void left by the fading light. He could almost see the patterns in the darkness, geometric shapes emerging from the depths of his imagination, swirling and intertwining like the branches of ancient trees reaching for the stars. But just as he reached out to touch the light, to uncover the mystery that lay within, a sudden chill swept through the air, silencing the hum and plunging him back into the depths of silence. It was a bone-deep cold that seeped into his bones, a visceral reminder that the night was not as welcoming as it had seemed. The light flickered and dimmed once more, leaving only a faint trace of warmth in its wake, and with it, Harold felt a tremor of fear wash over him. He stood motionless, gripped by a paralyzing dread as the shadows grew longer, stretching across the ground like fingers reaching for him, beckoning him to step deeper into the dark. The sensation of being watched intensified, and he could feel the energy swirling around him, swirling and coiling like a serpent poised to strike. There was something undeniably potent about this darkness, something ancient and wise, but also deeply unsettling. Harold's mind raced with the implications of what he was experiencing. Was this a natural phenomenon, an illusion crafted by his own fears, or something far more sinister? The hum returned, softer now, but with a tone that felt like a warning. He was teetering on the edge of revelation, and yet, as he stood there grappling with the enormity of the moment, the question loomed larger than ever. What lay beyond this veil of darkness, and would he have the courage to confront it when the time came? The air crackled with tension, and Harold felt the weight of the universe pressing down upon him. Would he dare to take another step, to unravel the cosmic mystery that lay waiting in the shadows? Or would he retreat, allowing the darkness to swallow him whole? The choice was his, and with it, the fate of his very existence hung in the balance. The night was still, yet the silence was alive, pulsating with an energy that seemed to hum just beneath the surface of reality. The air was thick, almost electric, as if every breath Harold took was charged with anticipation. He felt a magnetic pull toward the field, an invisible thread weaving him closer to the heart of the unknown. The moon, now a mere sliver in the sky, cast eerie shadows that danced across the ground, lengthening and twisting in unnatural ways. They twisted and contorted, taking on shapes that felt familiar yet foreign, like the ghosts of memories long buried. Then it happened. A sudden, jarring sound sliced through the stillness. Not a rustle of leaves or the call of a distant animal, but a deep, resonant pulse that seemed to emanate from the very earth itself. It was rhythmic, almost mechanical, a heartbeat echoing in the vast expanse of the field. Harold's heart raced in synchrony, thrumming in his chest as he struggled to comprehend the source of this sound. It was as if the ground beneath him had awakened from a deep slumber, revealing secrets that had been hidden for eons. And then, there it was. A flash of light, brighter than before, streaked across the horizon, illuminating the land in a surreal glow. The light danced with an ethereal quality, flickering like a candle caught in a gentle breeze. It cast long shadows of geometric shapes onto the ground, shapes that seemed to pulse with significance. Harold felt his breath hitch in his throat as he took a hesitant step forward, feeling the cool, damp earth beneath his feet. The light twisted and turned, forming intricate patterns that defied logic, swirling into spirals and angles that felt both alien and ancient. In that moment, a profound silence fell over the field, wrapping around him like a shroud. It was as though the universe held its breath, waiting. The hum intensified, vibrating through the very marrow of his bones. It was no longer just a sound, it was a feeling, a sensation that coursed through him, igniting something primal and instinctual. He could almost see the vibrations, shimmering in the air like heat waves rising from the asphalt on a scorching summer day. Harold's senses were heightened, each sound magnified, the rustle of the wind through the tall grass, the distant hoot of an owl, the quiet thrum of his own pulse. Yet, beneath it all, there was a feeling of being watched, a prickling awareness that sent a shiver down his spine. He felt as though something was observing him from the shadows, a presence lurking just out of sight, waiting for him to make the next move. The sensation was intoxicating and terrifying, a delicious cocktail of fear and curiosity. As the light pulsated, the shapes on the ground began to take form. Circular patterns, spirals that intertwined and overlapped, each one more complex than the last. They seemed to beckon him closer, a silent invitation to step into their midst. Harold's mind raced with questions. What did these formations mean? Who or what had created them? And what did they want from him? The answers hung just out of reach, tantalizingly close, yet impossibly distant. Then, without warning, the light flickered violently, casting harsh shadows that danced wildly across the field. Harold stumbled back, his heart pounding as a new sound filled the air, a metallic, grinding noise that echoed like the roar of distant machinery. The ground beneath him vibrated more intensely, sending ripples through the grass that felt like a warning, a signal that something momentous was about to occur. He couldn't tear his gaze away from the swirling patterns before him, the geometric shapes now glowing with an inner light, pulsing in time with the heartbeat of the earth. The air crackled with energy, and he could feel it in his skin, a warmth spreading out from his core that made him both exhilarated and afraid. The hum grew louder, enveloping him in a cocoon of sound, drowning out the world around him. And then, just as suddenly as it began, the light surged upward, piercing the dark sky like a beacon of hope, or perhaps a warning. It shot straight up, illuminating the clouds above and casting a surreal glow over the landscape. In that moment, Harold felt a sense of clarity wash over him. This was no ordinary phenomenon. This was a manifestation of something beyond his understanding, something cosmic and ancient that had been awakened by his presence. He could feel the pull intensifying, a compulsion to step closer, to reach out and touch the very fabric of the mystery unfolding before him. But as he teetered on the edge of the unknown, he hesitated. The air grew colder, the shadows deepening around him, as if the darkness itself were alive, folding inwards, threatening to envelop him whole. The overwhelming urge to run surged within him, but something deeper urged him to stay, to confront the enigma head-on. And then, in an instant, everything went dark. The light extinguished, plunging him into a suffocating void. The hum faded to silence, leaving only the sound of his own heartbeat echoing in his ears. Panic surged through him as he stood alone in the darkness, the shadows closing in and the weight of the unknown pressing down on his chest. What had just happened? Had he imagined it all? Or was he caught in the grip of something far more sinister? The questions spiraled in his mind, intertwining with the fear that clawed at him from the inside. Harold stood frozen, heart racing, as he strained to listen for any sign of the light's return, the echoes of the cosmic mystery still vibrating in his bones. Would he ever uncover the truth hidden within the depths of that darkness? Or was he destined to remain an unwitting spectator in a drama far greater than himself? As dawn broke over the quiet expanse of the countryside, a heavy stillness enveloped the land. The sun's rays crept cautiously over the horizon, illuminating the remnants of the night's mystery, yet casting no light on the dread that lingered in Harold's heart. He stood at the edge of the field, a place that had once felt familiar, now transformed into a landscape of uncertainty. The air was thick with tension, as if the very atmosphere held its breath, waiting for him to make sense of the unfathomable. His thoughts were a cacophony of confusion. The memory of the light, its brilliance, its warmth, was overshadowed by the chilling void that followed. He could still feel the faint hum reverberating in his chest, a reminder of the inexplicable energy that had coursed through him. Yet, the silence that now enveloped him was deafening, punctuated only by the rustle of wind through the tall grass, which seemed to whisper secrets of the night he wished he could forget. As he stepped cautiously into the field, the earth beneath him felt alive, thrumming with a pulse that resonated deep within his bones. Each step stirred the unease that had settled within him, a reminder that he was not alone. The shadows cast by the morning light danced strangely, morphing into shapes that suggested movement just beyond his line of sight. He squinted against the brightness, but it did little to dispel the haunting images lodged in his mind. Suddenly, a distant sound pierced the air, a low, resonant thrum that seemed to echo from the depths of the earth itself. It was a sound unlike anything he had ever heard, a vibration that gnawed at his senses, making his skin prickle. He paused, straining to decipher its origin. It was as if the land was communicating, sharing a language of its own, one that he was not privy to. The noise wove in and out of his consciousness, a siren's call beckoning him to delve deeper into the unknown. "Harold!" The voice broke through the haze, sharp and demanding. It was Sandra, his neighbor, her features etched with concern as she approached, her boots crunching over the gravel path. "You shouldn't be out here alone. Didn't you see the news?" Her eyes darted nervously around the field, as if expecting something to emerge from the shadows. "What do you mean?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper, the weight of the night pressing down on him. "What news?" She hesitated, glancing over her shoulder as if checking for unseen watchers. "They're saying there were strange lights last night. Something about the crops being affected. Some folks are talking about circles, patterns, things that don't belong." Harold felt the blood drain from his face. The patterns, the geometric formations that had somehow imprinted themselves on his mind. "I saw it," he confessed, his voice trembling. "I saw the light and then it just vanished." Sandra's expression shifted, a mix of fear and disbelief. "You're not the only one. Several people reported seeing something similar, but it's not just the lights, Harold. Animals have been acting strange too, refusing to go near the fields. Even the dogs won't bark. It's like they sense something is wrong." The unease began to twist in Harold's stomach. It was one thing to experience the phenomenon alone. It was another to realize that others had been touched by it too. "What do you think it is?" he asked, though he was afraid of the answers that might arise. "People are talking about things beyond our understanding. Some think it might be a sign. Others think it's something more sinister. All I know is that we should stay away from the fields." He watched her closely, searching for any hint of assurance, but found none. The air around them felt charged, heavy with unspoken truths. But what if it's something we need to confront? What if it's trying to tell us something? She shook her head, urgency creeping into her voice. "Sometimes it's better not to know. Just because we can't see it doesn't mean it's not there." As she spoke, a chill swept through the air, causing Harold to shiver. The shadows seemed to deepen, twisting into forms that danced at the periphery of his vision. He could almost feel the weight of unseen eyes, watching, waiting. "Let's just go home," Sandra urged, her voice breaking through the mounting tension. "We can talk to the others and figure this out together. It's safer that way." He hesitated, torn between a desire to flee and a compulsion to seek the truth that lingered just out of reach. But the growing sense of dread was suffocating, urging him to retreat back to the safety of familiar ground. As they turned to leave, Harold cast one last glance over his shoulder toward the field, the remnants of the night's mystery still hanging in the air like a thick fog. The land held its breath, as if it too was aware of the secrets buried beneath its surface. But he felt it then, a subtle shift in the atmosphere, a whisper of something that had been disturbed, waiting for its chance to be revealed. And just as they reached the edge of the field, Harold felt a sudden jolt, a fleeting vision of the geometric patterns flashing before his eyes, accompanied by the echo of the hum that had haunted him since last night. A sense of urgency burned within him, a need to understand, to uncover the truth that lay hidden in the shadows. But as he stepped back toward the road, he couldn't shake the feeling that whatever had awakened in the darkness was still watching, still waiting. And as they made their way home, the unease settled heavily upon him, a reminder that the true revelation was yet to come, lurking just beyond the veil of the ordinary. The dawn broke hesitantly over the landscape, casting a pale light that struggled to penetrate the lingering shadows of the night. Harold and Sandra stood at the threshold of the field, their hearts still racing from the events of the previous evening. The air felt thick with an unshakable tension, as if the earth itself were holding its breath, awaiting the next turn of fate. The residual chill clung to their skin, a stark reminder of the fear that had gripped them just hours before. The field, once a familiar expanse of green, now appeared alien, transformed by the mystery that had unfolded beneath the cover of darkness. As they walked, the sun began to illuminate the geometric patterns etched into the soil, a design so intricate and perfect that it seemed to defy the very laws of nature. The sight sent shivers down Harold's spine. It was as if the land had been written upon by something not of this world. He knelt down, fingers brushing against the flattened stalks of wheat that formed a stunning spiral, a shape that echoed ancient symbols he had seen in books long ago, symbols of knowledge and of something far greater than mankind. The scent of earth and dew mingled with an unexpected metallic tang, a lingering reminder of the presence that had disturbed the tranquility of their lives. It was a smell that seemed to resonate with each heartbeat, almost as if the ground itself pulsed with energy, urging him to decode the message inscribed in the field. "What do you think it means?" Sandra's voice was barely a whisper, as if speaking too loudly might shatter the fragile atmosphere. She stood a few paces behind him, her eyes darting nervously to the surrounding tree line, as if expecting something, or someone, to emerge from the shadows. Harold sat back on his heels, his mind racing with possibilities. I don't know, but this... He gestured to the formation, the spirals intertwining like the threads of fate. This can't just be a coincidence. It has to mean something. As they continued to examine the patterns, a soft, rustling sound broke the silence of the morning. It was subtle at first, a mere whisper of movement that could easily be dismissed as the wind playing tricks on the leaves. But Harold's instincts screamed at him to listen closer. The sound deepened, a low hum that resonated through the ground, vibrating through his bones. It felt impossibly alive, as if the very earth was responding to their presence. "Harold?" Sandra's voice trembled, pulling him from his thoughts. "Do you hear that?" He nodded, a chill creeping up his spine as he closed his eyes, focusing on the vibrations. The hum grew stronger, almost melodic, intertwining with the rustling of the leaves, creating a symphony that was both beautiful and terrifying. Each note seemed to echo the mysteries of the cosmos, a sound that felt ancient and otherworldly, reverberating through the very fabric of reality. Suddenly the temperature dropped sharply, a cold breeze cutting through the warmth of the morning sun. Harold opened his eyes, scanning the horizon, but there was nothing, just the endless expanse of the field and the distant tree line standing solemn and silent. Yet the feeling of being watched intensified, and he could swear he felt the presence of unseen eyes, observing from the shadows, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. Sandra stepped closer, her breaths coming quick and shallow. "We should get out of here," she urged, glancing nervously toward the tree line. "This doesn't feel right." He wanted to agree, to turn and leave this place that had morphed into a realm of uncertainty. Yet an inexplicable force held him there, tethered to the ground by the weight of the unknown. What if this was the key? What if the patterns were a message, a piece of a puzzle that could unlock the secrets they had only just begun to fathom? "Wait," he said, his voice steady despite the turmoil within. "If we leave now, we might miss something important. We need to understand what this is." The hum began to rise in pitch, resonating through the air like a warning bell. Harold felt the vibrations travel up his legs, a sensation that was both exhilarating and frightening. It was as if the earth was alive, communicating with him in a language older than time itself. In that moment, a distant sound broke through the melody, a low, mechanical thrum that seemed to pulse in sync with the vibrations. It was a sound he had never heard before, yet it felt familiar, like a long-forgotten memory resurfacing to haunt him. He turned to Sandra, who now stood frozen, her face pale, eyes wide with fear. "Do you hear that?" she whispered, her voice trembling. He nodded, his heart racing as he felt the ground beneath him tremble with a newfound urgency. "We need to find out what it is." As they moved toward the edge of the field, the hum crescendoed, enveloping them in a cocoon of sound that seemed to block out all other noise. The world around them faded away, leaving only the pulse of the earth and the rhythmic vibrations that thrummed beneath their feet. Suddenly the air crackled with energy, and a blinding flash of light erupted from the formation, momentarily blinding Harold. He stumbled back, raising a hand to shield his eyes. But the light was gone as quickly as it had come, leaving only a lingering sense of awe and dread. "What was that?" Sandra gasped, her voice a mix of terror and disbelief. "I don't know," he replied, breathless. "But we have to keep going. Something is happening here, and we can't turn away now." With each step they took away from the familiar, the weight of the mystery grew heavier, pressing down on them like a dark cloud. The tension hung thick in the air, a palpable reminder that the answers they sought were just beyond reach, waiting to be uncovered in the heart of the unknown. As Harold and Sandra edged closer to the enigmatic formation, the shadows of the night deepened, wrapping around them like a shroud. The air was thick with a metallic tang, a scent that hinted at something unnatural, something that had no place in the quiet rural landscape they knew so well. Their breaths came in quick bursts, a frantic rhythm matching the growing hum that seemed to pulse from the earth itself. Each step intensified the vibrations, a subtle yet insistent thrum that reverberated through their bodies, urging them onward. The field, once a serene expanse of soft grass and wildflowers, now felt alive, a sentient entity that watched them with its own primal gaze. The distant sounds of crickets and nightbirds had faded, replaced by the enveloping drone that harmonized with their own racing hearts. In the dim light of the moon, the formation began to reveal itself, a pattern etched into the earth, geometrically perfect, as if drawn by an unseen hand. The shapes twisted and turned, spiraling into the darkness, each line sharp and precise against the backdrop of the night. A chill ran down Harold's spine as he realized the design seemed to pulse with its own rhythm, a heartbeat echoing the hum that surrounded them. "What is this?" Sandra murmured, her voice barely a whisper, as if speaking too loudly would shatter the fragile reality they were in. She reached out tentatively, her fingers brushing against the edge of the formation. The ground felt warm beneath her touch, an unsettling contrast to the cool night air. "I don't know," Harold replied, his voice thick with apprehension, "but it feels alive." As they stood there, a sudden gust of wind whipped through the field, carrying with it an echo of that low, mechanical thrum. It wrapped around them, a ghostly embrace that sent shivers racing across their skin. The sensation was both exhilarating and terrifying, a reminder of the thin veil separating their world from something far more mysterious. Then, as if in response to their presence, the formation began to shimmer. A soft glow emanated from the lines etched into the soil, illuminating the night with an otherworldly light. It was not a harsh brightness, but a gentle radiance that seemed to draw them in, beckoning them closer to its secrets. The air crackled with energy, thickening around them, making it difficult to breathe. "Harold." Sandra's voice trembled again, a mix of fear and fascination. "What if this is something we're not meant to understand?" He glanced at her, the fear mirrored in her wide eyes, but there was also a spark of determination. "But what if it is? What if we're on the brink of something incredible?" With that, he stepped toward the glowing pattern, drawn by an instinct he couldn't articulate. The vibrations intensified, thrumming through the ground and into his bones. He felt as if he were being pulled into the very heart of the mystery, as if the formation was a portal to knowledge that had long been lost to mankind. Suddenly, a sound erupted from the formation, sharp and piercing, like the crack of thunder breaking the stillness of the night. The light flared brighter, casting long, haunting shadows across the field. It was as if the earth itself was screaming, a sound that resonated deep within, stirring something primal and deeply buried in their consciousness. "Run!" Sandra cried, her voice breaking the spell that had enveloped them. But Harold didn't move. His feet were rooted to the ground, caught in the moment, captivated by the spectacle unfolding before him. In that instant, something shifted in the air, a whisper of movement just beyond the edges of his vision. He turned, straining to see, but the shadows danced just out of reach, teasing him with their presence. They were not alone. The feeling was undeniable, a sensation of being watched, of unseen eyes lingering just beyond the veil of light. "What is happening?" Sandra's voice broke through his reverie, panic rising like a tide. Her eyes darted around, searching for answers in the dark. "We have to get out of here." But Harold's mind raced, piecing together the fragments of the mystery they had stumbled upon. "No, wait, look at the patterns. They mean something. It's all connected." As the light flickered, the shapes within the formation pulsed in response to their fear, as if feeding off their emotions. The air grew thick, and the sounds around them morphed into a cacophony of whispers, unintelligible yet urgent. It felt as if the very fabric of reality was bending, warping under the weight of what they had discovered. And then it happened. The formation shifted, a sudden movement that sent a jolt of energy through the ground. The light expanded, and for a brief moment, Harold caught a glimpse of something. An intricate pattern that spiraled into infinity, a design that seemed to resonate with the universe itself. In that fleeting instant, everything clicked into place, and he understood that they had stumbled upon something ancient, a connection to the cosmos that transcended time and space. But just as quickly as it came, the vision faded, leaving only shadows and the echo of that haunting hum. The ground beneath them trembled violently, throwing them off balance. Sandra stumbled backward, her eyes wide with terror, and in that moment, Harold felt a surge of regret, a realization that they had ventured too far, peering into a darkness that was never meant to be illuminated. As the last vestiges of light extinguished, plunging them into darkness, a sense of profound loss washed over him. They were not meant to witness this. They were merely intruders in a realm governed by rules beyond their comprehension. In the thick silence that followed, a single detail caught Harold's eye. A small object glinting in the moonlight, partially hidden within the folds of the formation. He stepped toward it, heart pounding, and knelt to examine the item. As he picked it up, a wave of dread washed over him. It was a pendant, intricately designed with symbols that mirrored those in the crop circle, and in that moment, he knew, whatever they had uncovered, it was far from over. He turned to Sandra, who stood frozen, her breath hitching in her throat. "We need to leave," she whispered, her voice barely audible above the lingering hum. But as they prepared to retreat, an unsettling realization settled over them both. Something still lingered in the air, a presence that seemed to pulse with life, watching, waiting. In the days that followed, the pendant became an obsession for Harold. He researched the symbols, searching for answers that seemed to elude him at every turn. But with each new discovery, a deeper sense of unease crept into his mind. A feeling that the truth was closer than he dared to imagine, yet remained just out of reach. The world outside continued as if nothing had changed. But for Harold and Sandra, the night in the field had altered them irrevocably. They felt the weight of the unknown pressing in on them, a reminder that some mysteries were never meant to be unraveled. And as they lay awake in the dark, the pendant resting on the nightstand, a soft hum echoed in the distance, a sound that whispered of cosmic secrets, of ancient forces at play, and of a world that existed just beyond the veil of their understanding. They were not alone, and the mystery was far from over.